I think it's so important when you are working with other people that asking them questions and allowing them to give their answers, whether, it matches exactly or not at the end of the day, allowing them to be part of that with you, I'm sure makes them feel so wonderful to
Mm-hmm.
know that you do care, that they're being heard in everything as well. Because I think in a lot of ways too, that's really what a lot of people in general really love. Like your clients, they want to feel like seen in the moment of their hardship of having to deal with downsizing, and you're doing that for them, and you're also doing that for your team as well. So that's incredible.
Well, I think it's actually to, yeah, thanks for that. I think it's also, it's easier. It's, it's safer. When, when I say safer, it's more about allowing other people to help define what I do. And I talked about that earlier. My team members, I don't know exactly how the, the company is going to look with 4 people, delivering services, but we're going to figure it out. And I want to ask the questions to my team members. And it's no different when I go into a client. It's saying, how are you feeling about this? Because I don't have to have it all figured out. I don't have to have the answers. I don't have to have it in my little manual. This is how Ray handles this, and it's being open as a person, being
Mm-hmm.
open as a business person, that you need other people to run your
Mm-hmm.
company. You need other people to grow your business. So I think about that. Like I don't really lose any sleep over this whole, like I've just hired 2 new team members. They're going to be incredible. I've been working with a fantastic team member. I've had other great team members that have come and gone from business. They've gone on to other things. And I feel really grateful for that. And I think a lot of it has been is I've also allowed them to define and refine what's happening with my company because I need them. It can't, that it
Mm-hmm.
terrifies me to think that I would have to do this all by myself. And there's this little mantra that I've had for a long time, even with my world of sport and fitness back in the day, that we can go faster alone or we're going to go farther together, right? It is so powerful. And I think, and it's even ironic that I used to be a runner. Like, sure, I can go fast, but I want to go farther. Like, there's no
Yeah.
way I can run my
Mm-hmm.
company without all of these people. And I think what the takeaway for me is I just have to allow it. And I need to take the pressure off of myself to have it all figured out. And knowing that I'm going to have some limits, that I'm going to have some adversity, and I'm not going to have all the answers. Because I think once we spend too much time there, it really holds us back from growing. And
Mm-hmm.
and I think I've just come to terms with my own life and my business world that like I need people to help me do what I do.
I love that. We do need people, and that's just it. Like, we aren't meant to do all these things alone. We are meant to do things together. And I think it is really hard a lot of times for people with, especially when they are solopreneurs and doing so many things by themselves, that built a business by themselves, to start allowing people in and part of their team. So how you have just explained that you include them as part of it, I think is just such a great way to transition as well into having more team members because of that mantra that you have. I think that is such a wonderful mantra. And I've taken a mental note
Mm-hmm.
that is going in there. That's a mental note for me too, because
I think it's an African proverb. I don't know. I researched it. I
mm,
don't even know who said it, but it's like an African proverb. And it really is true that, I think sometimes we stop dreaming the dream. We stop with the passion of what we want to do because we're like, I can't do this. Like I'm a single woman or a single mom, or I don't have all the players that I need. Like, and we just quit because we think we're alone and we're like, I don't know this. And I think that's good. Feel exactly that. Like that's good to
yeah,
feel that because that's your cue to push past your limit. That's your cue to be vulnerable and start making those connections and start figuring out what other people are doing and pay attention to what your clients are saying, pay attention to your other professionals. So, I mean, that's really about, going farther together is knowing that, yeah, okay, good. I don't have to. I don't have to do this all on my own, and I don't have to have it all figured out. And I guess the bottom line is you're not really alone. It feels like you are because you're having to make these decisions. Not really, because you're going to let yourself be defined and refined when you get going. Think about it. When you start a race, when you start any kind of project, or again, I kind of go back to that running race, I would have no idea what's going to happen to me. And I'm going to use in a marathon. I would never have any idea that I'm going to hit a wall at mile 17. And that really happened to me. I had no idea. So, you can't always know what the journey is going to look like. You just have to know before the gun goes off, before you start the business, before you start down the path of something. I'm committed. Whether I got to crawl across that finish line, I am committed, because you're going to have moments in that journey, in that process, that are going to feel awful. And they're going to want to make you stop, and they're going to want to make you quit. And I would say, that's normal. What you do with it after that is going to kind of show you what you're made of.
Yes, for sure. And I think it's interesting because running, I don't run anymore, but I used to, and I used to use running and everything mentally that I needed to get through those days where I didn't want to train and I didn't want to get out there, or the weather was just awful. And it was just like, I literally used to put plastic shopping bags on my feet and slip those in my runners to get myself through. But this is, even building that armor against the elements, the things that are going to happen. And I think a lot of our conversation has really been talking about getting, allowing ourselves to feel where we're at, but also pushing through. And everything is, we can figure things out for sure. The word dream to me is so important, because I think that when we allow ourselves to visualize things, of course, like you said, we don't know when we're going to come up to a wall. We don't know when we're going to come up to an obstacle. But going back to that sort of original dream and allowing ourselves to get into that space can really help us to keep pushing forward. And visualizing that finish line, or visualizing sort of crossing the finish line and what you're going to do and how you're going to feel afterwards, I think is such an important piece of it all too.
It's really, really true. I mean, and that stuff so parallels to anything in our personal life. And it really can overflow into business and that whole kind of approach and mindset. Yeah, I have to say, I mean, that's really, kind of getting back to your question around celebration. I think that probably is the answer for me, is being able to keep going, to let business go where it needs to go. Sure, I can't just sit back and let it, drive itself. I have to have the forward thinking. It's being able to kind of accept all the stuff that's part of the process, whether it's the hurdles, adversity, whether it's the unexpected partnerships, the stepping out of my comfort zone opportunities. Like there's all kinds of stuff that can evolve when we allow ourselves to accept it and be part of it. And that's kind of where that refining and defining come in for me.
Yes. Oh, well, I really do love everything that we've talked about and the message. This is part of the reason why I've also really, it's been a dream of mine to do this podcast, is because I think it's so important to share with people what it looks like behind the scenes, not just, what's on social media and what we see. And like you had said as well, we can easily go and scroll somebody's social media and it really does look like all this positive stuff that's happening, but there's also some behind the scenes stuff that we're not seeing. And I do think it's important to share some of that, to share some of the struggles and talk about what it's like to start a business with nothing, like from nothing.